Me no makwekwe sa sempa kania. Se me nam na meti asempa no ma amane a na ma no keka me. Anyem bia what ANS Trading Agency Limited nka. Se wo ka se door to door for no de na e watwa. E sense obi ne wa wo say wo ho sa door to door business nim. Wo nneoma wo UK a wo de kɔ Ghana. Ana se Germany a wo de kɔ Ghana. 3 to 5 weeks e be kwa kodu nipa ne pono no say try. Na de mo demonstration wo say dwuma de we mu ne say wo ho bo no. E da fom say bɔkɔ. ANS Trading Agency Limited. E wo air freight special service. And nneoma no ye de be fa plane. Entintempa na akwa kodu. Obetima fa sa pra we ya so de nneoma free Ghana akwa UK ana Germany. FGG dem which na also agina ye na men drop bomb. ANS Trading Agency Limited pe and a 40 footer any 20 footer container. Ya for UK ediko Ghana ana Germany ediko Ghana. Omo manuoma ye mere import o export o dem there for you. Omo Ghana na money 0249 170 423. UK has over free 0790 802 7527. Germany 09173 771 2733. Ubenya ANS Trading Agency Limited. Our West Croydon ANS Trading Agency Limited. Quantum Brantem. Wana beboya baso. Maybe next time in a fill up from the bebro.
On the tape, viewers, we're on the tape. She's now talking about in coming to the Mistral conclusion that Mistral doesn't apply. She's now telling us about the tape. She says she's listened to the tape 10 times. Okay, so here it is. He said after having listened to the tape, listened to the conversation between Richard Jakpa and the Attorney General, the issue whether the Attorney General actually told Jakpa to implicate Ato Forson is not borne out by the evidence on Exhibit CAF. That's the tape. Those words were uttered by Richard Jakpa at about 9 minutes to 10 minutes, 009 to 10:00 on the tape. She continues. In the same vein, the declaration that Ato Forson was innocent and going through ordeal, but was being asked to help make the case of AG better, was not made by the Attorney General, but was made by Jakpa, to which the Attorney General responded at minute 10:20, I am not asking you to help me, unquote. I think we did that in the studio. Anybody who listened to the tape will hear it. That's where we exposed Johnson Asedun Katias, what we call quote-unquote dishonesty, because when the Attorney General said, if you follow the theory of the case, and then Asedun Katias said, Attorney General is asking for a deal, when the Attorney General didn't use the word deal, we already exposed that, didn't we? And then the judges were saying it, that Attorney General said, and we made the point, he said that, he said that categorically, I am not asking you to help me make my case. Because Jakpa, because he knew that he was recording, kept taunting the Attorney General that you want me to help you make your case. And then he responded and said, thank God he did respond. Because he could have ignored the comment and it would have thrown some doubt in people's minds. But he was able to respond. And he said that, I am not asking you to help you to make my case. The judge refers to that. He says that the Attorney General responded at minute 10:20. I am not asking you to help me to make my case. At minute 10:30, the statement made that you and you've been meeting me at my cousin's place at minute 10:45, etc. When studied closely, together with Jakpa's alleged attack of conscience, did not proceed from the mouth of the Attorney General. So the judge is saying that Attorney General said, I'm not helping you. I don't need to help you make my case. These things that Jakpa said, including saying that I've been meeting you at my cousin's house, that's Justice Kulendi's house. Justice Kulendi and Mr. Jakpa are cousins, and that's where they met several times before the phone conversation. So he made the point. It was Jakpa who told us in the tape that it's Justice Kulendi's house that they were meeting, and the judge refers to that. He says at my cousin's place, and he says that all of those things that they allege, it didn't come from the Attorney General. All of what came from him was that I am not asking you to help me make my case. Okay, all right. What might cause some discomfort, she says, is the fact of having the discussion in the first place. That is an interesting point that the judge raised, and we are going to deal with it. He says, what might cause discomfort is the fact of having the conversation in the first place. Now, who do we lay this matter on? As far as I'm concerned, if there's a blame, or if we have to attribute the circumstances can only be attributed to the relationship between Justice Yendi Kulendi and Godfrey Diebo Adame, the Attorney General. It was as a result of that relationship, the collateral damage from the good relationship that Godfrey Dame has with Yendi Kulendi is what the judge is referring to. The judge says that what might cause some discomfort is the fact of having the discussion in the first place. And that is kind of true. But the discussion was had in the first place because two men, one looking up to each other, to the other as a mentor. The Attorney General looks up to Justice Kulendi as a mentor. As a result of that, and as a result of Justice Kulendi's family interest in Richard Jakpa because it's his cousin, the Attorney General succumbed to meeting Richard Jakpa and creating a familiarity with him. It is on that basis. Without the Attorney General, the Justice of the Supreme Court coming in, Justice Kulendi coming in, Attorney General will never speak to Richard Jakpa. In fact, if we publish the text again, the one that the NDC obscured, they didn't show it. It was Richard Jakpa who sent the Attorney General text and said that, my name is Jakpa. I am the one that you have helped to secure bail. I am a cousin to the judge and that I would like to see you. And the Attorney General says that, yes, I will contact you through. In fact, he even refused to confirm the meeting on the text. He said, hold on, I will contact you through your brother. So the judge has a right to raise this matter. And we have a responsibility to explain to our viewers why this causes discomfort for the judge. It will cause discomfort, but the discomfort has been occasioned as a result of a trust relationship. I don't know whether we should all be careful about the relationship that we trust going forward. I don't know whether many lawyers are going to be concerned about the relationship of trust, because in the legal fraternity and in terms of prosecuting and law, lawyers have relationships, and that's why you see two lawyers argue in a case, and for laymen, they think that they hate each other. But will be explaining some of these things to us in a minute. They go out in the court and they say, Charlie, but you, why? Why do you talk like that? I say, but you didn't understand the thing. He said, listen, we want to settle. So my client wants to settle. So, and you see the lawyers talking under a tree, and the clients look at them and say, hey, lawyer for nipa bonio. That's why they will go to hell. They are not nipa boni. Lawyers are negotiators, and they understand the essence of humanity. They understand it. Even though you might think they don't, they clearly understand it. That is why a counsel can walk to a judge and say, my lord, I need you to adjourn this thing. I'm not feeling too well today. The guy will say, oh, you think so? Call the other lawyer. The other lawyer comes. They were fighting 1 minute ago. He said, what is happening? He said, oh, Paul says he wants to adjourn. He's not well. He said, ask for him every day. He's not well. What's wrong with you? He says, oh, I don't, my head. He said, oh, your head is paining you. I have paracetamol in my car. You will see the opposite lawyer go and take paracetamol and give it to the other lawyer. And they were fighting 1 minute ago. That is not the reason why they will go to hell. That is how their work is. So because the Attorney General sees Justice Kulendi as his mentor, and so he goes to Justice Kulendi's house all the time. If Jakpa comes and Jakpa says, oh, I'm Justice Kulendi's brother, say, oh, you're Kulendi's brother. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Let me see what I can do. Let's meet in Kulendi's house. So they meet there and says that, listen, Mr. Jakpa, you need to follow the theory of the case. The theory of the case is that the documents that you have, Seabed, whatever his company is called, that document is not part of the documents that went to Parliament. So that the deal that Parliament approved did not include your company. Somebody smuggled your company into it. And you will need to admit that before the court. And then he says, I cannot admit that. He says, well, if you cannot admit that, forget about it, because that's the fact of the matter. It's verifiable, it's provable, and all these things is happening in front of the Supreme Court judge. And that is why Godfrey Dami opened up to him. So after meeting him several times in the Supreme Court judge's house, he places a call to Godfrey Dami and he'll pick up and say, oh, that's Jakpa. He'll pick up and say, hey, Master, how are you? It's Attorney General, please, tomorrow is called to say, yeah, tomorrow I'll be there. And then they start talking. So it is okay for the judge to raise this matter. But it is now an opportunity for Godfrey Dami and his team, if they want to answer this question, to demonstrate why they will do that. And the judge will accept it because she's also a lawyer, she also has relationships, and she knows how these things build up. So that's the part. It says what might cause some discomfort is the fact of having the discussion in the first place on live matters before the court, and the fact of the Attorney General having asked Jakpa to seek medical excuse at the 14th to 15th minutes so as to be absent from court. Be that as it may, she says, the matters alluded to in the conversation and the fact of it, with the Attorney General being a lawyer, are matters which do not fall within the remit of the criminal proceedings and the duty of this court. Beautiful. So Godfrey Dami and Richard Jakpa's lawyers now have the opportunity to appear before the General Legal Counsel, and Godfrey Dami will say that I spoke to him. Yes, I did. Because I had met him on the platform of Justice Yendi Kulendi, whom you all know and whom you all respect. How many of you in this room in the General Legal Counsel will Justice Kulendi place a call and say that Jakpa is my cousin. Can you come to my house? Let's understand his case. How many of you would decline that invitation? If I were Godfrey Dame, that's what I'll tell the General Legal Counsel. How many of you would decline that invitation? If the high and mighty Yonikulendi, Justice of the Supreme Court, calls you the prosecutor, you are already his mentee for many, many years. Not because he's Supreme Court judge and you are Attorney General. You are his mentee before he became Supreme Court judge. You are his mentee before you became Attorney General or Deputy Attorney General for that matter. And then now you're Attorney General, you're Deputy Attorney General, you become Deputy Attorney General. Now he calls you and says, Attorney General, please come and let's discuss this matter. Why would you decline such an invitation? So yes, the judge says that matter is in the domain of the General Legal Counsel. It says it falls under the ambit of the Legal Profession Act, which makes the General Legal Counsel the body responsible for dealing with these matters. Okay, she continues. After having listened to the recording, the question to be asked is there actual evidence that the Attorney General, as the prosecutor, has shown to have behaved in such an egregious manner that the Ato Forson's right to a fair trial has been in jeopardy? She answers the question. The conversation before the court in Exhibit CAF2 took place in the last few weeks or months, long after the court had made a determination on the prima facie evidence that all the accused persons had a case to answer, and that Ato Forson had even mounted a spirited defense and closed his case. Jakpa is yet to conclude his evidence because there were issues with filing of his witness statements and case management, as is borne out by the record. In the circumstances, his lordship says, and having in mind the issues at stake in the trial, being ambulances that all parties acknowledge are of no use in the condition that they were delivered, the circumstances and the justification of which is the subject of the instant trial, and how far this case has traveled before the conversation that sparked these applications came to be, I should think not. She's answering the question, given the circumstances, her duty as a judge is to check whether this tape conversation, whether they are alleging the words used by the Attorney General or the conduct of it as a whole, whether this matter has put Ato Forson's fair trial, the fairness of the trial, which is a constitutional obligation imposed by the court and indeed imposed on the Attorney General as well, that every Ghanaian should have the right to fair trial. That's a duty imposed by the Constitution, and it's imposed on the court and it's imposed on the Attorney General. The judge is evaluating the evidence of the tape and trying to ventilate it and asking herself that, can these circumstances put together, can they mean that Ato Forson's rights to fair trial has been jeopardized? And she answers the question in the negative. And she gives a reason why. She says that by the time the conversation took place, Ato Forson has told the court that he has no case to answer. The court has told him, you have a case to answer. He has finished answering the case. He has closed the evidence. He has closed it. So that's the end of Ato Forson's case. What is left next is for Ato Forson to be told whether he is guilty as charged. Sorry. Sorry about that. What is left is for Ato Forson to be told that he is guilty as charged. That's it. It will come again at 10:25. Okay, so that's where we are. That's what the judge said. Ato Forson, you are done. Nothing can change it. Whether the Attorney General somersaults in the phone conversation or jumps up and down, or Jakpa throws the phone into the sea, or he turns it to somebody to record a tape, all of those things, it wouldn't matter because you have actually closed your case. So there's no way in which your matter can be jeopardized. Every record is before the judge, and the judge is going to rule accordingly. So, viewers, this is the circumstances of the matter. This is the end of the story. So this is where we are. So the case has resumed. Today, the cross-examination of Jakpa continued by lawyers for the first accused. All of that is going on now. All three applications were dismissed. About the tape conversation, the judge had issues with the conversation happening at all, that matter. And I have explained that matter to you that. And she said that she's not the one to make that determination. Listening to it as a judge, she feels that, but why would the Attorney General have a conversation with somebody like that? Anyway, it's not my matter. The General Legal Counsel can deal with it. As for me, I'm dealing with the substance of the case. And the General Legal Counsel will deal with it. They are an arbitration sort of panel. And they are going to hear the real evidence. They are going to hear how many times Godfrey Dame met Jakpa in Justice Kulendi's house. What was the circumstances of the meeting? Who chaired the meeting? What conversations had at the meeting? Could these conversations have bred a certain familiarity between the Attorney General and Richard Jakpa? If it did, was it a familiarity that was free from manipulation of the case, etc., etc. That's what they are going to look at. So maybe Godfrey Dame trusted too much and thought that Richard Jakpa was Justice Kulendi's brother, and therefore his mindset was like Justice Kulendi. That's how it works. When you know people and they tell you that this person is my person, you usually assume that they are like them. So I think that he wrongly assumed that Richard Jakpa, being Justice Kulendi's cousin, will carry the same conduct, the same discipline, the same dignity that Justice Kulendi carries. That was Godfrey Dame's problem. And tomorrow morning I'll tell him, I'm going to look for him and tell him, Mr. Dame, your problem was that you thought that because Kulendi has conduct, Kulendi is a decent man, Kulendi is a scholar, and so because Kulendi said this is my brother, you